Hello, happy Thursday. Welcome back to this week's live training. I hope you are having a very smooth week so far. Today, I want to help you answer the question, should I stay or should I go? And this is in regards to your current job. Okay? There are likely some things that you like about your job, and there are likely some things that you don't like about your job. And it's those things that you don't like about your job that are causing you to kind of start asking yourself that question. That's what's bringing that question up into your brain, right? Maybe you've been at your job for 1 year, maybe you've been there for 5 years, maybe you've been there for 15 years, and maybe at the beginning you really, really enjoyed your job. But over time, some things have changed and you're starting to feel a little burned out, right? Burnout is usually a result of something at your job that you're not liking, okay? Maybe you started the job and you thought you could handle some of those not good things, right? But it's just gotten to be too much and you're definitely burned out now. Or maybe life outside of work for you has evolved a little bit and what once was manageable at work is no longer that way and you're just feeling burnout all the time from everything, okay? Either way, you're probably here because you're questioning whether or not it's time to leave your job and you may be struggling with what the answer to that question is. So today, my goal is to help you figure that out, okay? For anybody new here, I am Dr. Jody Miller. I'm a physical therapist and a mentor to PT students and new grads. I've worked in just about every setting that there is for PTs. I've worked in outpatient, I have worked in acute care, I've done oncology, I've done travel physical therapy, I've done pediatrics. Most of my career has been in skilled nursing facility. I've also been a rehab director at a skilled nursing facility. I'm also an adjunct teacher at DPT schools. And now I own my own cash based practice in the Tampa area where I work mostly with gymnasts and cheerleaders. And I'm also the owner of Clinical Connections Mentoring, which is where you are now. Um, I'd like to thank everybody who's watching, whether you are watching in the Clinical Connections Mentoring Facebook group, whether you are watching on Instagram, thank you for watching, or maybe you're watching on YouTube. Thank you again for being here, coming to hear what I have to say in my little corner of the internet. What I'd like you to do, if you are watching live, please type your name and type live in the comments. Let me know who you are, where you're watching from. Same thing if you're watching the replay, just type replay. Tell me who you are, where you're from. I just like to know who I'm talking to when I'm doing these lives. Um, so if you've been around here long enough, you've watched enough of my videos, you've followed me along enough, then you've heard me talk a lot about burnout and where it comes from and what signs to look out for. So what happens once you've accepted a job, right? You've been working there for a while, and then you're starting to see those signs of burnout. What happens? What do you need to do? What happens when things around you start to change, right? Like at the beginning I said maybe you took a job and you liked it, or maybe you took it and you're like, I can handle these things. But then those things that you liked or you thought you could handle, what happens when those things start to change at your job? Okay? So, we're going to talk about that today. I want to start with reminding you that there are internal and there are external factors that lead to burnout. Okay. Often it is a combination of these factors. It's usually not one or the other. But I want to start by kind of going over those and reminding you about those factors again. Okay. Especially if you're feeling burnout. And that's why that question is coming into your head. Okay. So, internal factors are those things like perfectionism, comparison, imposter syndrome, and people pleasing. Okay, there's more, but those are like the big four. External factors are things like terrible bosses, terrible managers, terrible reimbursement rates that we all know about, excessive or unacceptable, maybe productivity expectations, and high demands on you at your job. Okay, so those are some of those external factors that lead to burnout. Remember, we cannot change the external factors. Okay, these are things that we do not have control over. They happen around us. We cannot change the external factors, but we can change our internal factors. We have control over these things because these are the things that are within us. Okay. So if you're asking yourself, is it time to leave my job? You have to start. I highly recommend You have to try and make some changes first, and you have to start with making changes with the internal factors first. Okay? I can't stress this enough. If you're questioning, is it time for me to leave my job? You first have to look at the internal factors and you have to make changes there first. Okay? If you don't change these internal factors and you leave your job, it doesn't matter where you go next because those internal factors are still going to be there when you move or change to a different job. Okay? So, looking internally and recognizing the things that you can change within you has to be done first. Okay? So, ask yourself, are you practicing perfectionism? When you look at what you're doing at work, are you trying to be perfect? Are you spending hours and hours and hours just trying to design the perfect treatment plans for all of your patients? Are you spending time and money attending all the CEU courses, trying to be the perfect clinician and know it all? Are you staying late after work and trying to make sure your documentation is perfect for reimbursement? Right? If you're doing any of these things, and there's other examples, but these are just a few. If you're doing some things like this, how can you make changes here so that you feel less overwhelmed, exhausted, and burnout? These things, if you're doing all these things over and over and over again, practicing that perfectionism is going to lead you to burnout. So if that's you, how can you make changes here first? Okay. Next, ask yourself, do you find yourself comparing yourself to other people around you? Okay. When you look at what you're doing at your current job, are you comparing yourself to other clinicians that you work with, or maybe people that you follow on social media? Are you looking at your coworkers and feeling frustrated because they seem to get results faster than you? Excuse me, do you watch your coworkers and then feel like your treatment sessions are not up to par with theirs? Are you placing more stress on yourself to be like clinicians who've worked at your facility for more than 10 years? They have way more experience than you. If you're doing any of these things, if you're comparing yourself to other people around you, how can you make changes here? Okay. Next, you can ask yourself, do you have imposter syndrome? Do you doubt your abilities and also feel that you don't deserve that success? Okay. When you look at how you feel while you're at work, do you feel like you don't belong there or that you don't deserve to be there? Do you tell yourself you don't know what you're doing? Do you often feel like you haven't learned enough to be working with a specific type of patient? Excuse me. Do you find yourself trying to do more just as a way to kind of catch up to your coworkers so you can feel more confident? If you're doing any of these things, what can you change so that you feel more deserving or feel more confident? Okay. Next, ask yourself, am I a people pleaser? Right? When you look at what you're doing at work, are you trying to please everybody else? Are you trying to please your boss by saying yes to everything, even though those things don't align with your values? Are you saying yes to your coworkers when they ask for help, even though you already have a full schedule and you're already at your limit? Are you doing things for your boss because you want to avoid making them mad, or you're trying to avoid conflicts, right? Are you doing those things? Are you saying yes to additional work obligations outside of your normal 40 hours just to not disappoint your boss or let somebody down? Okay. If you find yourself doing any of these things, people pleasing, trying to make everybody else happy at the expense of your own, what changes can you make here? Okay. So you have to start with those internal factors. After you've made changes here, if you're still feeling frustrated and overworked and overwhelmed and undervalued and stressed out and burned out, now it's time to look at the external factors where you're working. Okay. Now remember, most of these things cannot be changed and they tend to happen or they change around you, right? You can't change your boss's personality. You can't change reimbursement rates, so we can try to fight for them, but it's going to take some time. You can't necessarily change productivity requirements, and you can't really change the number of patients that need us, right? That's always going to be a lot, right? But we can try, okay? So you can start with talking to your boss or your manager. Okay. So if there's something at work that's just not, productivity is 95% and you just cannot make it, right? Or it's just too much for the number of patients that are on your caseload. Have a conversation with your boss, right? Create a list of the things you want to talk to them, write them down, set up a meeting to talk to your boss, and then remind yourself that by simply having this conversation with your boss, you're doing what is best for you. Okay. At that meeting, you have to tell them how you're feeling, right? But also give them suggestions, right? Don't just rally off a list of complaints. You need to have solutions and suggestions for the challenges or their troubles that you're experiencing at work. Okay. So you need to bring the problem to your boss, tell them how it makes you feel, how you feel about it, and then give possible solutions. Okay. Maybe it's that you want, maybe you ask your boss, hey, can I only see this specific type of diagnosis? Or can I not see these types of patients on my caseload because of X, Y, and Z? Right. Or you can ask to change your schedule, right? Maybe it's your total number of hours, or maybe it's the days that you work, or maybe it's the hours that you work, right? You maybe initially took your job one way, but maybe life has changed. Maybe now you have kids, right? Maybe you've moved further away. Maybe you just need a simple change in your schedule. Maybe it's not time to leave. Maybe you just need a change in your schedule, right? So ask your boss, hey, can I know when I was hired, I work Tuesday, Saturday. Is there a way I can switch to Monday, Friday now? Right? Or I know I work 5 8-hour days. Is there a way I can go to 4 10s? Okay. Maybe your boss doesn't realize how things at work are affecting how you're feeling. Okay. They don't know. Remember, people cannot help you if they don't know what is wrong or if they don't know where to help you. Okay. So you have to have the conversation with your boss first. Try there first, right? If these external factors are too much for you, you have to talk to your boss. They have to know. They can't help you if they don't know. Okay? By showing up and having this conversation, you are now showing a lot of courage and bravery. You are stepping up and you are taking a stand for you, and that is what is most important here. You, not your boss, not your coworkers, not your patients, not the company you work for. You are what's most important. Okay. So I've talked about making changes to your internal factors, talked about making changes to the external factors, right? And how that might lead to you feeling burned out where you are right now. Okay. So make those internal changes, talk to your boss, talk to the people that can make changes about those external factors, see what can happen, right? So, but how do you know if it's time to make a change? Okay. So there's a couple things you want to look for at your job. Okay. First, you've addressed, you've made the changes to the internal factors, and you're still feeling frustrated, stressed out, overwhelmed, overworked, exhausted, burned out at your current job. All right. If you've made the changes to the internal stuff and you're still feeling those stressors and you're still questioning, do I need to be here? That means that you're already taking control. You're trying to manage the things that you can control, but those external factors haven't changed, and that's why you're still feeling burned out. If that's the case, then the next thing you have to do is talk to your boss. Share your concerns and your ideas, right? Then, if nothing happens at that point, you've done the internal work, you've worked on those internal factors, you're still feeling stressed out. You've had a conversation with your boss, given ideas, and nothing has changed, this likely means that things are not going to change and their policies at your job are not aligned with your values. Now it is time to leave your job. Okay. You've done the internal work, you've had a conversation, you've asked for changes. If nothing has changed, if nothing's changed at that point, your values do not align with your employer's values, you are going to burn out. It is time to leave that job. Okay. Next, just look at the external factors in general, right? Are they inappropriate? Are they unattainable? Are they too demanding, right? Is the productivity standard well above 90%? Is the staffing so low that you don't even get a break to go to the bathroom and you got to scarf down your lunch in 5 minutes? Are you unable to use your PTO Do you have to work more than 40 hours a week? Are you having to do way more outside of your normal hours or normal patient care work that you didn't sign up for? If any of these things are happening, if these are some of your external factors, none of you've talked to your boss about it, none of it's changing, then it's time for you to leave your job. Okay? If the external factors are so far out of alignment with your own values that it causes stress or issues at work or outside of work, then it's time for you to leave. Some examples of that are being told to bill a certain number of units for each patient. Nobody should be telling you how much you bill. That's you. You're the licensed clinician. Being told to bill specific interventions for every patient. Nobody should be telling you what to bill or how much to bill, right? If you're being told to do a specific thing and it's not appropriate for your patients, your values don't align with your jobs, it's time to leave. Another example, having to see 4 patients per hour. It's a lot. Productivity demand is way too high. Maybe there's unethical or illegal billing or patient care at the place that you work at. These things are happening. It's time for you to leave this job. Okay? If the burnout is so bad that it's causing you medical issues or illnesses or other health concerns, then it is definitely time for you to leave. Okay? So let's recap a little bit. If you're questioning, is it time for me to leave my job? Do I stay here? Do I stick it out a little bit longer? Or is it time for me to go somewhere else? If you're asking yourself that question, think about the internal and external factors that can lead to burnout and ask yourself, are these the reasons that I'm questioning my job? Then work to make changes to those internal factors first. If you do not change these, I'm going to say it again. If you don't change these internal factors, the perfectionism, the comparison, if you don't change these, you're going to experience burnout at your next job. Okay? Doesn't matter. It will follow you. Those internal factors follow you. They're always with you. Okay? Next, have a conversation with your boss. Advocate for yourself. See if some of those external factors at work, your hours, your patient care caseload, productivity, maybe, right? Talk to your boss, see if some of those external factors can be changed to improve your situation at work. At that point, if you've done the internal work, none of the external factors have changed, then it's time for you to leave and look for something that's a better fit for you. Okay? This question comes up a lot with my clients, and I go into way more detail on this topic in my Complete Clinician program. If you're interested in learning more about that, what the program looks like, or how I can help you, feel free to send me a message, right? Send me a DM on whatever platform you're watching on. Send me a message. I'd love to chat with you about it. Okay. We work in a really good profession and we do a lot of really great things. And because of that, I am on a mission to help rehab professionals find the joy in their career again. You chose this career for a reason. You know that you can do really good things, right? That joy comes from finding a job that works for you and keeps you free from burnout. All right. I hope you learned something new today. Please go ahead, drop in the comments your aha moment, something that really stood out for you, something new that you learned today. Thank you very much for watching, whether you're watching on Instagram or whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. If you have any questions about anything that I talked about today, please feel free to message me or drop them in the comments. I will definitely come back and answer them. I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday, and I will see you next time.